want to take you on a small travel around the world. I'll give you the main take-home from the beginning. So, global heterologous cross-protection is real. It's nothing new. It is not linked to PRRS genetic diversity, and it's not linked to geography. So with that, we can skip the rest. We have a 22-year-old vaccine. It's just past 1 billion doses sold, and every second 3.8 pigs are vaccinated with this vaccine. So there's a bit of experience from 19 countries around the world. We know it's all about immunity and the pathogens. So we want to have as high immunity as possible to keep the pathogen under control. And we also know that it's not only linked to the bottle. And we already heard that this morning. So what is important to control PRRS? And there could be a lot of arguments to say that people would be the most important, and probably they play a higher role than we have thought until now. So we can have the best systems, we can have the best sites, we can have the best transports, but if we fail to control the way people are handling pig and do the management, we will probably fail. Location is important. We already learned that this morning. And we also know that it's important with the gilt replacement procedures. Pig flow is important, and immunity. So now I'll take the shortcut and skip all that and just tell that we need to have heterologous protection no matter which virus we're dealing with, and that's all you need. And that's not saying that the rest is not important, but the rest of this presentation will not take that into consideration at least. Our basic understanding of the PRRS global distribution is that we have type 2 in North America mainly. There's some type 1. It's mentioned now and then, not taken really into consideration. In Europe, it's mainly type 1. Then there are some countries that have type 2, like Germany, Netherlands, Belgium, Denmark. And in other countries in Europe, it's not even present. Then we have Eastern Europe, with also type 1, but with other subtypes, maybe some of them more nasty. And then we have Asia with type 2, and the highly pathogenic variation of PRRS type 2, and also some type 1. So this is the situation globally. You have seen this table again and again. I think the first time it was presented by Mike Roof in Krakow at Reproductive Diseases, and it gets longer and longer. So every time a new virus turns up, there's a challenge dose study looking at the lung lesions, and every time you see there's a significant difference between vaccinated and non-vaccinated pigs, with a percentage of lung lesions, with heterologous viruses. So we know that we have a good deal of cross-protection. So that is from US. But actually there's a lot of documentation globally on heterologous cross-protection. Starting out in Europe, the first publication was actually from Denmark. Could talk a long time about that. I won't do that. There's also several publications from Germany and from Hungary and Belgium. And then from North America, you know, we have a bunch here from US. So now I just put them in. So we start with the oldest one at the top and the youngest one at the bottom. And the one you see here in bold, they are peer-reviewed publications. And the rest is Congress abstracts, IPVS, Reproductive Diseases, APVS, and so on. The assumption here, when I bring all these publications, is that whenever we talk about challenge in the field. The challenge we have from a field virus would always be heterologous to the vaccine, by definition. So in all these studies, whenever it has been challenge dose studies or just field studies or case studies, they describe a successful use of Engelbrecht Percival V. There's a few from Mexico, and there's also one from Canada. And then from Asia, it's only 10 years that Engelbrecht Percival V has been in Asia, but already now we have a number of publications from Philippines, from Thailand, from Korea, from Vietnam, a bunch of publications from China, and a few also from Japan. So quite an impressive bunch of publications. That's what is maybe worth to note is that, yeah, there was a few from the beginning when the vaccine was launched, but actually there's an increasing number of studies and also an increasing number of challenge dose studies with published data. I won't bring you data from all of these, but I picked a few to make this travel around the world. So from Japan, China, and Korea, and also some data from a recent publication from US on 174 and a challenge dose study. The challenge dose study you will see in more details after this presentation. But I want to show you another way of presenting data, because we normally look at the data at the end of a challenge dose study, so at the day when the pigs are killed. But actually a lot is happening from the day of challenge and over the next 14 days or 21 days when we follow the pigs. And we try to put that into a different way of visualize the data. So the first one we'll look at is a Japanese study. It's an R&D study. So these data has not been published yet. So you have a chance to dig into it here. What I've done is that all the available reference sequences is put into a biportal project here. So they got the sequences from US, from Joe Victoria, and in most of the other publications you have a gene bank reference, so you're able to get the sequence. And now they're put into biportal. And what you see is that in every study I present here, I put the challenge sequence as the root, and all of the rest of the available sequences they are aligned. And you see that Engelbrecht Percival V and then is put in between. And you can also follow the homology. So here we have 8.72% difference in all 5 in the Japanese challenge strain compared to Engelbrecht Percival V. The way the study was set up was that the pigs were negative when they entered, and at 3 weeks of age they were divided into 2 groups, and one of the groups were vaccinated with Engelbrecht Percival V. And then they were blood sampled every week until challenge at 28 days, and then followed for 14 days, and then blood and weight and euthanized in the end. This is the normal way. We look at data from that. So here, very nice reduction in average lung lesions, and also reduction in average daily weight gain in the challenge period compared to the non-vaccinated. We can look at serum viremia. It seems to be lower in the vaccinated group, and also the level of virus in bronchial alveolar fluids is lower. But I'll show you another way of looking at these data. From these studies, from the challenge studies, we have normally a lot of data available from the day of challenge and until the end of the study. And here it's plotted into a kind of moving graph where we'll look at 4 parameters at the same time. So we have the 2 groups, the vaccinated group and the non-vaccinated challenge group. Then we have on the y-axis, we have the serum viral load, and on the x-axis, the live weight. Then we follow at the bubbles. We will look at the color of them. They reflect the rectal temperature, so when they're turning red, the pigs have fever. And the lung lesions is the size of this bubble. So this is how it looks like. So now we're following the pigs from the day of challenge and until they were euthanized. We see that after challenge, both groups, they become viremic, but it's also very clear that already now they start to grow differently. And you can see by the size here that the lung lesions are bigger in the control group. And really there's a big difference in the growth rate, and serum viral load is not that different, but still we have a significant difference in lung lesions. So confirming the studies we have seen from US so far. Another study from China. So in this study, the challenge was highly pathogenic PRRS virus. And you see that compared to Englert-Percival-V, it's only 10% different in O5. So don't know how much O5 really tell us about how big a variance we have. But okay. So here we had two groups of pigs vaccinated at 28 days of age. And we followed them until they were challenged for 28 days and then for 21 days afterwards. This was really a pathogenic virus, so you see that after around 7 days after challenge, the pigs in the non-vaccinated groups, they start to die, and at the end, almost 70% of the pigs were dead in the non-vaccinated group. When we look at the temperature curves and also the PCR levels, you see that at the beginning, when the vaccinated pigs were challenged, they also had an increase in temperature, but quite fast they go down to the base level, whereas there's increasing temperature in the pigs challenged with a highly pathogenic virus. And here we have the average of the groups, that comes up to 41 degrees, but you will know that a number of pigs were way above 41 degrees, and it turned out that pigs that passed 41 degrees, they were the one that died. So if a pig had a higher temperature than 41 degrees, it died in this study. So in this study, again, put the data into this moving graph, and we will look at the control and vaccinated pig, and that's a strict control group. And then we have on the y-axis the survival rates of the pigs, and the live weight and the x-axis. The rectal temperature by the color, and the clinical score is the size of the bubble. So what you see here is that we have the control pigs, so the non-vaccinated. They actually don't grow at all. And the survival rate after 7 days, the first pigs are dying. And you see that vaccinated pigs, they are also affected because they are not growing as fast as the non-challenged pigs, but they stay alive. So after 21 days, we have lost almost 70% of the pigs in the non-vaccinated group, and we have a significant difference in weight gain between the two groups. We'll look at the same study again. Now we are looking at the percentage of viremia pigs on the y-axis and the clinical score on the x-axis. And you see there's no clinical score in the control pigs. And the vaccinated pigs, they are affected at the beginning. And they also have some fever, but not the same, to not same extent as the control pigs. And after a few days, they are back to the normal clinical score, whereas the control pigs are dying. At the end of the study, at 21 days, also the control pigs are having the same clinical score, but at this time we only have 30% of the pigs left. So another study from Korea. Again, that's put here as the root, and we have a difference in homology on 11.6% compared to the non-vaccinated. In this study, we have 5 groups, so 2 vaccinated groups and 2 non-vaccinated groups. And in each group, they were challenged. The vaccinated group were challenged either with a Korean lineage 1 or a Korean lineage 5, and the same with the non-vaccinated group. And then we have a strict control groups. In this study, the pigs were challenged at day 35 and followed for 14 days. Some of the pigs, so we have two ends here, meaning that some of the pigs were killed after 7 days, and the rest were killed after 14 days. In this study, we will be looking at the serum viral load. On the x-axis, we have the different groups here to reflect by the colors. And then we have on the y-axis, we have the serum viral load. And on the x-axis, interferon gamma secreting cells. We have the lung lesions reflected by the size of the bubble. You see very fast here when the pigs are challenged that they move. The vaccinated and the non-vaccinated, they move into completely different directions. So increase in interferon gamma secreting cells in the vaccinated group. Almost no change in the control group, but their serum viral loads are increasing heavily. We also see that the size of the bubbles, so they have high amount of lung lesions. So these are the averages of the group. Very clear difference between the 2 groups. Now we plotted all the animals into it, so we see the same again, but now we will have all the animals there. So the colors are still reflected by the different groups. And you see all pigs in the vaccinated, no matter if they are challenged with lineage 1 or lineage 5, they actually show the same level of increasing interferon gamma secreting cells. And again, also the same with control pigs. No matter if they're challenged with the lineage 1 or lineage 5, they show the same pattern. So a nice way of following also individual pigs over the time of the challenge. In the last one here, we show the same again, but now we are looking not the colors of the bubbles this time, it's actually the rectal temperature. So we know which way the different groups are moving, and it's very clear that the pigs in the control groups, they have a higher temperature than the pigs in the non-vaccinated, in the vaccinated group. The same pattern. Very nice way of following pigs. So back to US, after been demonstrating heterologous protection in Asia. These are recent publications from this year from US. Challenge dose study with 174. And this has the homology of 90% compared to Engelberg first MLV. We have 159 pigs in this study. They were negative and vaccinated at 28 days of age. And then they were challenged with 174 at day 28 and followed until 42 days. There was a significant difference in the lung lesions. And there were also a significant difference in the average daily weight gain between the vaccinated and the control group. So you've seen that data already presented. When we put that into the movement graph again and follow the pigs from the day of challenge and until the end of the study, now we only have 2 groups, the control group and the Engelberg first MLV vaccinated group. So we have on the y-axis here, we have the serum viral load, and the percentage of pigs with fever on the x-axis. Then we have the rectal temperature, as we've seen before, and now the lung lesions again as the size of the bubbles. We see very fast that the control pigs, they get fever, but also there's a temperature increase actually in the vaccinated group. But just after a few days, here you see the temperature, and the lung lesions are getting significantly higher in the vaccinated group, in the non-vaccinated group, and we have the pigs with fever is decreasing fast in the vaccinated. So it's not like, and that we know that already, that when we vaccinate, that pigs are completely protected from getting infected and show clinical signs, but they last for a very short time, and in the end they are able to clean up the virus faster. Now we put all the pigs in there, so we will be looking at lung lesions on the x-axis and serum viral load on the y-axis. And now the clinical score is the size of the bubble. And we have all the individual pigs here. So when we look at the clinical score, we will actually see the size of this bubble will change. So when we have a large bubble, pigs are affected by the challenge virus. So we have from the beginning, you see there's a few, but then now after a few days we have more pigs affected with the clinical signs, and then we have the lung lesions on the x-axis. I think it's a spectacular way of looking at data from a challenge study. Gives a bit more information of the single pigs, how they are doing. The last one I'll show, very brief, and that's kind of a teaser for the next presentation. So it's a challenge dose study, and you will hear more about it very soon. In this one, pigs were vaccinated or non-vaccinated, and they were challenged with different doses of PRRS virus, and challenged at day 28 and followed until day 70. There was a significant difference in the temperature curves for the for the four groups. Basically, the log 3 and 4 have showed the same pattern, and log 1 and 2 showed the same pattern. There was also a difference in temperature and in the viremia curves. So here we have just put 4 vaccinated, so 2 vaccinated group and 2 control group, challenged with either log 2 or log 4, and then the no challenge group. So we have 5 groups in this one, and then we have the percentage of PCR positive pigs on the y-axis and the live weights on the x-axis. We have the rectal temperature, as we've seen before with the color, and then we have 1 divided with the CD value as the size, so meaning that the bigger size of a bubble means higher viral loads in this one. So we see very fast that the vaccinated pigs become viremic after vaccination, whereas the control pigs stay non-viremic. Then we have the challenge, and we see that now the control pigs become viremic, but already at this time the vaccinated pigs are getting down in the level of viremia. And if you look at the no challenge group and the 2 vaccinated, the pigs vaccinated with the 2 logs, they follow each other, both with the level of PCR positive pigs, but also on the average daily weight gain. And then in between we have the pigs vaccinated with the 4 logs. So a very clear difference when we look at pigs vaccinated and challenged with different doses. And we will have a much deeper explanation of that soon. So with that, I hope that you agree. We have seen cross-protection across the world in different challenge dose studies. The homology to Engelheim MLV has been between 2% and up to 15%. And we can see that genotype does not predict the level of protection. That's nothing new. We can also see that geography does not predict the level of protection. It's also not new to any of us. But we know now that challenge dose plays an important role in the level of efficacy of vaccine, and that reduction of a wild type circulation is extremely important.